/tax collector. I'm Jim Lazarus with the Chamber of Commerce, co-chairing the outreach effort as we transition from payroll tax to gross receipts. Thank you for being here. This has been a huge effort for many years. In fact, from the business community, interest in this reform goes back decades, with our ongoing concern that you don't tax job creation, you tax economic success. And though the city is limited in cities and counties are limited in California on the income side, gross receipts is about as close as we can get to a tax structure that allows us to tax economic activity and growth rather than jobs. And certainly in this economy now, when we've made other steps to move job creation forward, even with the payroll tax in place, this is going to be a great transition as businesses look at their tax liabilities under the payroll tax, transition the next remaining 4 and 5 years to a full gross receipts tax. Supervisor Christensen here today, members of the mayor's staff, the treasurer tax collector's office, the controller's office, that really made this possible during years of work, research, and then many, many months 2 years ago of negotiations that led to the successful ballot measure. So it's our pleasure representing the business, part of the business community, to be here, and now the manufacturing community. Katie?
So Kate Sophis, Executive Director of SF MAID and also co-chair. You know, I think for us, representing a sector of job-creating, labor-intensive businesses, it was such a great pleasure and accomplishment when we worked on this together with kindred spirits in finance and the hotel and tourism sectors, and it really brought all these folks together literally around the same table, including labor-intensive businesses like manufacturers. And I was amazed at the time and couldn't be more proud of what we've all accomplished together. I think particularly for businesses that are labor-intensive, and certainly manufacturers are one of those kinds of businesses, this really is a celebration and an affirmation that San Francisco is open for small business, is open for manufacturing, and I couldn't be more excited about the kind of base this builds for us as a city to continue to have these kinds of businesses start, stay, and grow in San Francisco. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our hero of the day, Mayor Edley. Yeah.
I've been called many names before, but not hero. Okay, thank you. I was just walking in, I was persuading Jose to come over on this side because this group is about the people who generate the revenue, and that side about people who spend the revenue. I am so glad to be here with all of the names announced and supervisor as well, with our Small Business Commission, our SF MAID movement, of course, our chamber. You know, today is all about great news. This is the first, we've actually completed a full year of our new gross receipts business tax, as opposed to, as what both Jim and Kate described already as our kind of job-punishing payroll tax that we had before. It's a big milestone, and I will say this again, just as we did almost 3 years ago when we were coming together to put Proposition E, I think it was the alphabet, to try to convince everybody that this is going to be better. And certainly, Scott, I know you know that for small businesses, you create $1 million exemption. That's pretty good. That's pretty supportive. And I know Mary and everybody else here knows that we have been and wanting to make sure that we reflected our support for all of our small businesses while we change a tax structure that really incentivized job creation. I'm still as passionate now as I was 3 years ago about getting good jobs out there, and now more and more as we see the innovation that's going on in our city combined with, I think, the investor confidence that we have in the business community, we're seeing a huge surge in job creation. We can then make sure on the promises to our youth that they're really going to have a good time if they stay with us and continue their education. And by the way, business is investing in our education as well at the same time. And so is our great successful business leaders, as you've heard this past week and two. Philanthropy is also on the great rise, and that's all part of this whole entire story. That a business-friendly, an investor-friendly city can also be a city that exemplifies its prosperity by sharing and working on things that really equalize everybody's lives here, whether it's transportation, education, certainly housing, and the greatest jobs it can possibly produce. I just want to give a personal thanks that this year's success, first of all, has in large part to do with early meetings that we had with our treasurer, José Cisneros, but also combined with some great financial minds in the city, and no less than Ben Rosenfield and Ted Egan, and Ted's here, I know, and he had the very difficult task joining with a whole team of going around the entire city, as I recall, Ted, because I asked you to report back to us what were the business community saying, big and small, and he would have this group meeting and that group meeting, and this group would have so many cautious things about changing the business tax, and Chamber weighed in, but so many other groups that we were concerned about, industries that are all important to us. And we had to weave together a collaborative reform that invited everybody to the table and said, not only said it, but demonstrated we did not want to lose any major industry in this city. The other thing that we were informed of and came through all of our meetings as a result of this was that they told the treasurer and they told us, you gotta make it easy. You gotta make it workable for everyone. If you have a complicated tax system, even if you claim it will be helpful, that's not gonna be that helpful to everybody. And this is where I wanna just really single out that this past year, Jose and his entire staff are to be congratulated, because if you go on that website, as I've done, and we were here personally and walking me through, and by the way, I'm one of those few folks that still does my own taxes. And you know why I do my own taxes? Because I'm not an asset-rich individual like all of you here. So that's why it's easy for me to do my own taxes. You know, it's one pager that I had to kind of match that ability with what's on the website. And it's come through just as easy. And we're getting kudos for it. It is very easy to navigate. And it's so easy that it was called out as one of the great examples of innovation by our own governor, Jerry Brown, who said that this is kind of stuff you've got to do in all of our cities to be successful. Have that innovation, have that technology support that this group is with us, have their commitment that we've got to make it easy for all of our taxpayers. And then the benefits of this transition will be that much more felt. So I want to give a hearty thanks to Jose and his crew. I know he's dedicated in so many other ways to helping our city succeed. He's right there also on the cusp with me on things like education, on certainly educating our immigrants and all of our underprivileged that they can use our financial education that he supports to help them be even more successful. So he's much more than just our treasurer tax collector. He's been really showing a great heart that goes along with, I think, all of our city employees. They always have a chance to demonstrate more than what the job calls for, and that's why we have such a great city. So I wanted to say thank you, Jose, to you and your staff. Thank you to all of what you've done to make it easy for everybody. But thank you for your commitment to also just be engaged with so many elements of our community, not just the business community, but I'll tell you, without this strong relationship that we are developing with our business community, you won't get creative jobs, you won't get good conversations about investing in education, investing in our hospitals, investing in our communities, strong neighborhoods. All of that wouldn't happen unless there was a strong belief in our collaborative spirit in the city. So I'm very happy to just announcing this on Valentine's weekend. And everybody make sure you grab a cookie and chew your way to a good heart. We announced that this has been a very good, successful launch of an ongoing relationship we want to continue having with our business community so that we can create the kinds of local jobs that Katie and Scott and everybody wants to have in this city, continue making it a great city. Thank you for being here today. May I introduce our treasurer, tax collector, José Cisneros.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much for your kind words and for your dedication and your partnership on launching this important new tax. As you mentioned, Mayor, Prop E was passed over 2 years ago, and I'm here to report to you and to the entire city of San Francisco that we are now at the point where we can say we've successfully delivered the gross receipts tax system on time and on budget. Believe me, a lot of people deserve credit for that success. And I will be honest, it's not been an easy road. Our previous tax system was just not built to accommodate this type of a measure, and therefore we executed an agreement for a new tax system which configured almost all of our taxes, including the new gross receipts tax. I'd really like to recognize our great vendors on this project who are here with us today, 21 Tech and Thomson Reuters. Let's acknowledge them for their great work. Thank you so much. And last year, in March, we implemented one of the first important steps, the quarterly installments for the new business tax, which really replaced a system we'd had for many years of mailing out prepayment quarterly bills. This was a huge change that was communicated to 95,000 business taxpayers, and the taxpayers complied. And then in April of last year, we rolled out a change to the annual business registration fees for all registered business in the city. This was a large change for all taxpayers and important for the city to bring in money for, during the fiscal year for implementation purposes. The collections of the business registrations fees were designed to increase from $8 million to $38.5 million, and our businesses complied, and we hit that tax revenue target nearly exactly. So before taxpayers even file for the gross receipts tax now at the end of the year, the new tax approved by voters brought in over $30 million into our city coffers. Throughout this process, we've had many of the concerns that the mayor talked about, that taxpayers would need to know what was in the new law. And so we worked very closely with the Mayor's Office of Economic and Workforce Development and all the departments represented here from the city to implement the most aggressive outreach strategy we've ever engaged around a tax measure. This project took an army of supporters to accomplish, from the excellent support of our tax team in the City Attorney's Office, led by Jean Alexander. Thank you, everybody from the City Attorney's Office. Our customer support experts at 311. Thank you, Nancy, and to everyone at 311. The City Administrator's Office for contracting and hiring support. Of course, our colleagues in the Controller's Office and the Mayor's Office team. And of course, and I'm surrounded by the business community that never relented with their involvement in making sure that the measure got passed, and now are engaged in making sure that it gets implemented correctly and fairly in a way that people understand. I particularly do want to thank Jim and Kate and all the Business Tax Advisory Group members for your guidance and your help on getting the word out. Folks like Janan New at the Apartment Association brought many new requirements and obligations to the members of her community, and we're grateful for their partnership to make this transition as smooth as possible. But I don't want to in any way forget the folks that have taken care of the lion's share of the work of this, and that's the staff of the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office. Could I please ask everybody from the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office to raise their hand and be recognized? They really have done the lion's share of the work for implementing this measure. And I wouldn't be a good Treasurer Tax Collector if I didn't remind people that the tax deadline for this filing is coming up and is due. All returns must be filed and taxes paid by March 2nd of this year. It's usually by the end of February, Mr. Mayor, but that falls on a weekend, so this year it's March 2nd. And I want to make sure nobody misses that, or at least doesn't forget to file for an extension, because we want to see everybody in compliance. And with that, I want to thank you for your time and introduce Lenita Enriquez from the City Administrator's Office. Lenita?
Hello, my name is Lenita Enriquez. I am the program manager of the Community Challenge Grant Program, and I'm really here to encourage and ask that businesses check that box at the bottom of their tax forms, designating 3% to the Community Challenge Grant Program. The program is also known, and on your forms, I believe it's called the Neighborhood Beautification and Graffiti Cleanup Fund. We provide matching grants to nonprofit organizations, artists, residents forming neighborhood groups, and businesses to implement various beautification and greening programs, projects in their neighborhood. Mini parks, community gardens, gathering spaces, sidewalk landscaping, and public art, just to name a few. So with that 3% designation coming to the Challenge Grant, we'll still be able to continue funding these type of projects throughout the city. And I'm sure a lot of you have already seen many of them around, and you'll know with this money we can continue to do so. Thank you.
Greg? Tell people how to file.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then this actually just concludes it. Thank you so much for coming out this afternoon, and remember to file by March 2nd. Thanks.